Have you ever looked at something about to be tossed in the trash and thought, wait a minute, maybe this still has a little life left in it? I'll tell you a secret. Your garden is the perfect place for those forgotten treasures. A cracked teacup, an old mason jar, even that pair of shoes you haven't worn in years. With a little imagination, they can all turn into fairy-inspired garden magic. And here's the part one think you'll really appreciate. These projects are gentle. No heavy lifting, no complicated steps, and no straining your back. Just small touches that add charm without taking a toll on your body or your budget. My neighbor once tucked tiny succulents into her worn-out boots, and let me tell you, people stop on the sidewalk just to admire them. It's the kind of creativity that makes your garden feel personal, like it's telling your story. So, if you're the kind of person who smiles at the idea of giving everyday objects a second chance, like turning a jelly jar into a twinkling lantern or using a chipped teacup as a planter, then you're in the right place. That's what we do here at Golden Years Lifestyle Hub. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to have you join our family of gardeners who believe beauty doesn't have to be expensive, complicated, or out of reach. Together, we'll turn the simplest things into treasures your neighbors will wish they thought of first. Idea 1. Broken teacup fairy planters. Now, let's begin with one of my favorite little touches, broken teacup fairy planters. You know those cups hiding in the back of the cabinet, the ones with a chip or a crack that makes them too wobbly for tea? Well, don't throw them away, because in the garden, they're about to have a second life. All you need to do is fill that teacup with a little soil and tuck in a small plant like a tiny violet, a sprig of moss, or a hardy succulent. They don't take up much space, and they thrive in these cozy little homes. Place a few teacups together on a tray, and suddenly it looks like a fairy tea party right in your garden. And here's the gentle joke for today. It's the one time you'll actually be glad about chipped china, because now your garden gets to sip tea in style. Idea 2. Mason jar fairy lanterns. Now, if you've got some empty jars tucked away in your kitchen, this next one will make your evenings sparkle. Mason jar fairy lanterns. All you do is pop in a solar light or a little battery tea light, and the glow that comes through the glass is magical. I've seen friends wrap their jars with lace, or paint little swirls on the glass, and even press dried flowers on the sides. It turns an ordinary jar into a glowing jewel for your garden. And here's an important safety tip. Use LED or solar lights instead of real candles. They're safer, last longer, and you won't have to worry about a breeze blowing anything over. When night falls, those tiny lights twinkle like fireflies, and it feels as though your garden has slipped into a fairy tale. Idea 3. Old shoe mini planters. Now here's a project that always makes people smile. Old shoe mini planters. You know those well-loved shoes sitting at the bottom of the closet, the ones that carried you through countless walks in the park or Sunday strolls with friends. Don't throw them out just yet. Instead, give them one last journey in the garden. Line the inside with a simple plastic bag to keep the soil from seeping through. Then add potting mix and slip in a few cheerful flowers. Marigolds, pansies, or even a cluster of petunias look wonderful popping out of those old laces. There's something sweetly nostalgic about it. Those comfy walking shoes that carried us through the years can now carry blossoms, brightening up a corner of your garden. And let me tell you, every visitor who spots them will stop and laugh with delight. Idea 4. Tin can wind chimes. For a little music in the garden, tin can wind chimes are such a charming project. Take a few empty cans, give them a fresh coat of paint, and string them up with beads, old keys, or bits of metal that will clink together in the breeze. Hang them from a branch, a porch beam, or even a shepherd's hook. The soft sounds they make on a breezy afternoon are so calming. It's like your garden gets its own little orchestra. And here's a bit of gentle humor for you. Your garden will be the only one in the neighborhood where the wind does the singing. Not too loud, not too sharp, just a peaceful melody to make your afternoons even sweeter. Idea 5. Plastic bottle fairy houses. Now, this one always sparks the imagination. Plastic bottle fairy houses. Instead of tossing those bottles into the bin, you can cut and shape them into tiny cottages. Paint on little doors and windows, add a mossy roof, or sprinkle a pebble path around them. Before you know it, you've created a whole fairy neighborhood right at the base of your shrubs or along the garden path. And remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, fairy gardens love a touch of whimsy. A crooked door or uneven window only adds to the magic, making it feel like the fairies themselves built it overnight. Kids and grandkids especially love spotting these hidden houses, and even adults can't resist pausing to smile. Idea 6. Picture frame garden signs. Here's a project that brings both charm and personality to your garden. Picture frame garden signs. Instead of letting those old frames collect dust in a drawer, why not turn them into little displays that speak to the heart? You can slip in a handwritten plant name, a favorite garden quote, or even a whimsical saying. Prop them up on a stake, hang them from a fence, or nestle them among your flowers for a sweet surprise. And don't be afraid to let your imagination play. You might even leave a sign that says, "Fairies welcome here." Imagine your visitors pausing to chuckle and children tiptoeing around, looking for tiny wings among the leaves. It's a simple touch, but it makes your garden feel alive with personality, as though the plants themselves have found their voices. Idea 7. Broken plate mosaic path stones. Now, if you got a few broken plates or old tiles tucked away, here's a way to turn them into something beautiful: mosaic path stones. Gather the pieces, arrange them on a stepping stone mold or a concrete base, and piece together your own little artwork for the garden. Bright blues, soft florals, or even those tiny gold-edge fragments all come together like a puzzle. Here's an important safety tip. Make sure to smooth any sharp edges with sandpaper, or better yet, cover the pieces with grout so they're safe to step on. The result is stunning. Each stone becomes a memory quilt under your feet, carrying pieces of the past into your present garden. And when the sunlight hits the colors just right, it looks like jewels sparkling along the path. Idea 8. Bird bath from an old bowl. There's something magical about watching birds flutter into your garden, and an old bowl makes the perfect bird bath. All you need is a sturdy stand, maybe an overturned flower pot or a plant stand, and that forgotten bowl becomes a little oasis. Fill it with fresh water, and you'll soon notice sparrows, finches, and maybe even a cheeky robin stopping by for a sip or a splash. It's a gentle reminder that your garden isn't just for you. It's a home for so many tiny visitors. My friend once told me the happiest part of her mornings is sipping coffee while the birds hold their own tea party in her backyard bowl. Idea 9. Fairy swing from old wood and rope. Now, for a touch of pure whimsy, how about a fairy swing? A small piece of wood, a bit of twine or rope, and suddenly you've got a tiny seat dangling from a branch. You can tuck a miniature doll on it or plant a trailing vine right on the swing, so it looks alive with greenery. It's the sort of thing that makes people pause, smile, and wonder, are there really fairies living here? And even if you know the answer, it's lovely to let your imagination wander a bit. Idea 10. Wine cork garden markers. If you've ever mixed up your herbs, was that parsley or cilantro? This next project will save you the guessing. Take a few wine corks, write the plant names on them with a marker, and stick them on as skewers or bamboo sticks. Push them into the soil next to your herbs, and voila! You've got rustic garden markers that are both practical and charming. Every time I see one, I chuckle and think, well, at least that bottle of wine didn't go to waste. Idea 11. Rusty watering can as a fountain. Here's a project that blends nostalgia with beauty. A rusty old watering can reborn as a fountain. With a simple hidden pump, you can make water trickle right out of its spout, just as though it were still at work. The soft sound of running water is soothing, like a little stream meandering through your yard. And for many of us, watering cans bring back memories of helping in the garden as children, carrying water carefully so not a drop would spill. Now, that scent can add not just beauty, but a gentle soundtrack to your garden. Idea 12. Old CD sparkle mobiles. And finally, let's bring out a bit of rainbow magic with old CDs. Remember those? They might not play your favorite tunes anymore, but they can still make your garden shine. Hang them from a string where the sunlight can hit them, and you'll see little rainbows dance across the garden all day long. Not only is it delightful to look at, but it also helps deter pests like birds nibbling at your veggies. It's practical sparkle, your very own disco ball for the tomatoes. Idea 13, ladder plant shelf. Let's start these final touches with a piece that makes a real statement, a ladder plant shelf. If you've got an old wooden ladder tucked away in the shed, give it a fresh coat of paint and set it up in the garden. Each rung becomes a perfect spot for pots of geraniums, herbs, or even trailing ivy. Suddenly, something once forgotten turns into a tiered display of color and life. I have a friend who painted her ladder bright turquoise, and now it looks like an art piece right in the middle of her garden. Trust me, your neighbors will be peeking over the fence, wondering where you bought it. Idea 14, glass bottle edging. Next, we'll turn to something that adds sparkle to the ground itself, glass bottle edging. Collect colorful bottles, flip them upside down, and line them neatly along a pathway or garden bed. Greens, blues, and ambers catch the sunlight beautifully, almost like jewels scattered across the earth. It's simple, affordable, and gives your garden paths a storybook feel. I remember when neighbors used to use marbles or colored stones as decorations. This has that same nostalgic charm, only bigger and brighter. Idea 15, fairy door on tree trunks. And finally, the perfect finishing touch, a fairy door. All it takes is a small wooden door, painted or decorated however you like, attached to the base of a tree trunk. Place one at the bottom of your favorite shade tree, and suddenly the whole garden feels alive with imagination. Children will stop and knock, wondering if the fairies are home, and even adults can't resist pausing for a smile. It's a small detail, but one that transforms your yard into a place of wonder. And here's the encouragement I want to leave you with. Each project tells a story, and it's your story. Whether it's a chipped teacup, an old ladder, or even a rusty watering can, every piece carries a bit of your history into the garden. These fairy-inspired touches don't just decorate your space. They make it personal, unique, and full of memories worth sharing. Bonus tips. Before we close, let me share a few little extras because sometimes the smallest touches bring the biggest smiles. Try weaving fairy lights into a wreath or across a garden trellis. When the sun goes down, those soft twinkles make your garden glow like a page out of fairy tale. If you've ever sat outside on a summer evening with tiny lights sparkling around you, you know just how magical it feels. Another easy trick is to tuck in a few faux flowers here and there. They fill the gaps when your real blooms fade, and they keep the garden looking colorful year-round. My neighbor swears by this. She mixes them right in with her geraniums, and no one ever knows the difference. And here's a soothing touch. Add a drop or two of lavender oil to your planters. As the evening air drifts through, you'll catch that calming scent. It's like nature's own relaxation therapy, right on your porch or patio. Remember, it doesn't take much to make your garden feel special. Small touches bring big smiles. From teacup planters to fairy doors, we've taken what many people would toss in the trash and turned it into a magical retreat, filled with charm, color, and a little sparkle of imagination. Every project reminds us that beauty doesn't always come from buying something new. It often comes from giving the old a second chance. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which idea made you smile the most? Was it the fairy swing, the glowing mason jar lanterns, or maybe those quirky shoe planters? Tell me in the comments. I truly enjoy hearing your stories, and often they inspire others too. And if you found joy in today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Golden Years Lifestyle Hub. Together, we'll keep making our gardens and our golden years truly magical. Until next time, may your garden sparkle with a little fairy dust and a whole lot of love.